welcome to the Waxman Show. Today we're going to talk to you about how we bought 2 cars using our cash value life insurance.
Yeah.
So start us off. What happened yesterday?
What happened yesterday was I bought my little sister a car. And really it really comes down to understanding, like, what if you never had to finance anything ever again through somebody else? And that's what it comes down to. It comes down to you being able to control your money. I just got off a call with a lady and I was saying that it's all about control and controlling your money, which is the thing that we work hard for. So I bought my little sister a car yesterday because she was spending $75 to $100 a day in Uber. Yeah, and if you're working 20 business days, that's $1,500 to $2,000 a month. And I feel like there's a lot of people out there that probably are doing that, and they just don't understand the mechanics of the math of it.
Right. So we've always talked about us starting our own family banking system because our mentors, right, they don't use a bank. They keep everything within the family.
Yeah.
So this is like the first step in us building our banking system within our family. So now what happens? Since you borrowed against a life insurance policy, what did you do after that?
Then the life insurance company sends the money to the bank, and it's just money that's in the bank. So a lot of people are like this. A lot of people ask me, do they care that the money's from the life insurance policy? They don't know. It's not that, and you're not hiding it either. It's not like that. You're borrowing against the policy, and they're just sending you money to your bank account. So you just walk in there and you say you're paying cash, and so you tell them you're paying cash. It also gives you more leverage. It gives you more leverage because a lot of people want to finance, and then they have to come up, and then they have to not negotiate, and and then the salesperson there might think you're broke, and so they don't give you all the stuff. But if you have cash, you have money to throw down. It helps you negotiate the sale of the car too.
Yeah, absolutely. And so now we decided to finance the car for her, right?
Yes.
But before that, how did we put money into our policy to be able to do that?
Every time we make money, we put it in our policy first, and then we borrow against the policy to live our life. And we pay for our expenses, we pay for different programs or sales trainings and stuff that we're gonna buy so that we can grow ourselves and our business.
Yes.
And then whatever's left over,
Right. So
you can either put back in the policy or use for something else.
So for example, like we had, let's say her car was 20 grand.
Yeah, it was
right?
20 grand even.
Okay. Then we already had that accumulated in our policy as cash value.
Yes.
But what does that really mean? Because we didn't borrow from our cash value. Really, we're leveraging, right?
Yeah, you're borrowing against it, not borrowing from it. Mm-hmm. You're borrowing against the cash value. So what happens is, if you have an asset that has value, you can leverage pretty much anything. But if you have an asset that has value, so in this example, let's say you have $25,000 of cash value in your policy, which in reality, it's the amount of death benefit that they allow you to access now while you're alive at whatever age you are. And so from that, we're able to leverage 95% of the cash value. So we take a policy loan for $20,000 and they send $20,000 to our policy, which means that you're able to, this $25,000 is continuing to grow dividends and interest uninterrupted forever. And you're able to go use that 20 grand to buy a car. Mm-hmm. And then I offered her 3 different options, a 3-year, a 4-year, and a 5-year option with a lower, middle, and higher interest rate.
Perfect.
Just like a bank would.
Yeah. She picked the option, and then we write up an agreement.
Yes.
And then you set up the payment, however that's going to happen.
Correct.
Now, let's talk about a little of the transaction process. How long did it take for you to see that money back in your bank checking account?
It takes 1 to 3 days from you to borrow against it for it to happen that way. But it's like a 10 to 15 day process in total to move money there and borrow against it. That's why, but it only matters in your first month. So people are like, do I have to wait every single time? Hypothetically, no, because it only matters if you never make money again. But if you're constantly making money and you're constantly putting in your policy and constantly borrowing against it and then making more money and putting more in and borrowing against more, you're just using your August money to pay off July and using your September money to pay off August. You're always just using last month's income to pay off the previous month's expenses, essentially.
Perfect. And now let's talk about the interest. How are you setting that up for her to pay the interest?
I gave her 3 options. So if you just go on cars.com or you go to Bank of America website and you look, if you have an excellent credit score, they're going to give you about a 7% APR over 36 to 72 months. If you have a good credit score, they'll give you like 8 or 9%. And if you have a poor credit or fair or poor, it might be like 15%. Now, I don't really know what her credit report is, but it doesn't really matter. I offered her 3 options. I offered her 3 years at 7%, 4 years at 8%. So her incentive for an extra year was that she has lower payments, but my incentive for giving her an extra year is to get an extra percent. And I offered her 5 years at 9%. And one of them was $615 a month, one was $488 a month, one was $415 a month. And so this is what the bank does: is they choose the lower, or the bank offers you longer terms, so the payment goes down. And for her, she has a lesser payment every month. For me, I'm going to make more in interest over time. So it's a win-win situation.
We became the banker.
And we were the banker. So she financed it through us instead of financing it through Jeep.
Yes, through the dealership.
Yes.
All right. And so, let's see.
Well, when we bought our car, when we bought your car, I came to you and I said, babe, we have money in the bank right now. We can pay cash for it. And you said, no, we have to put it through our policy first. So why did you wait? You would rather wait for the store?
Yes.
But also for the financial benefit.
Yes, because we'll be able to control all of that money that instead of giving it to the dealership, we'll be able to control it. So for example, with Barry's example of her, you get to set the terms.
Yeah.
And the money at 20 grand is technically still in our policy, compounding with interest. So when we decide to put that money back in, our money has already accumulated some dividends probably by that time. And on top of that, we're using OPM, other people's money, which is the life insurance money. And there's just so many more benefits to it. But looking far ahead, 10 years from now, we're going to have so much more cash value because we were able to control our own system of putting that money back into our policy and leveraging our cash value.
I mean, most people, I don't want to say she fell for it, but because it is beneficial for her. But the reality is that when you're financing things at a lower interest rate, they're giving you a lower interest rate and longer terms. But if you look at an amortization schedule or you look at how the loan is actually paid out, even though the payment is $270 less for her, which she can go pay for her nails and her hair and shit like that, right? For that. But the bank, we make more money from it. So it's better for her to have a lower payment, but it also gives more interest to the banker. And so the longer you stretch out a loan, the more interest goes to the banker. And that's how mortgages are set up. That's why we're not going to do that.
Why do you think that most people rather finance their things that they purchase?
Because you don't have to come up with cash right now, and we've been duped into living in the monthly payment world. Whereas if you need to, if you're buying a $500,000 home, for example, and your mortgage is $2,500 a month, it's not gonna be, you're focused on I could afford $2,500 a month, and you could only have 100 grand in the bank. And the problem is that you're financing things improperly, and that we learn to pay for things based on monthly payments and not based on how much cash we have. And we also shouldn't pay it in cash. We should leverage against our cash, but you can't leverage against your cash in the bank. You can only leverage against cash in a life insurance policy. You can leverage against your stock portfolio. You can leverage against other assets, your 401k, your IRA, retirement accounts, but then you have to pay back on a certain term and a certain time frame. And at the same time, if the stock market goes down or if Bitcoin goes down, you leverage against your crypto, then your loan could be upside down. You could be in a tight spot. I'm never gonna repo her car. If she doesn't pay me, I might take it and drive it for a little bit and she has to walk, but she'll be fine. Like nothing's gonna happen to her. It won't hurt her credit report.
Yes. And so what is infinite banking and how does it let you use the same dollar in two places at once?
Infinite banking comes from this book, Becoming Your Own Banker, and it's really something that's been there for a long time. But the concept, this book is a text for a 10-hour course of instruction about the power of dividend-paying whole life insurance. It is not a sales tool for life insurance agents. It is education that the life insurance industry should have taught for the last 200 years. The whole idea is to recapture the interest that one is paying to banks and finance companies for the major items that we need during a lifetime, such as automobiles, major appliances, education, homes, investment opportunities, business equipment, etc. This book is not about investments of any kind. It is about how one finances the things of life, which can certainly include investments.
And so to simplify, let's just say that somebody doesn't want to buy a car. So they buy other stuff, right?
You can use it for whatever you want.
Whatever you want.
Yes.
Now, let's say some of our past clients have been real estate investors, agents. Now, let's give that example because a car, she's using it to go to work, make money.
Yeah.
But a real estate property, how would you describe that being used in the infinite banking concept?
I wouldn't say that it's better or worse, but it's more beneficial financially speaking because you're gonna invest in an investment property. There is a difference also between your single family home is similar to the car. You're paying for it, like whatever. But I still think you should rent where you live, but that's a conversation for another video. But for an investment property or your business or something that you can make money from, now you're taking the money that you earn, storing it somewhere safe in a lockbox or a safe that's vaulted in there for life, and that you're leveraging against that. You're using the life insurance company's money, which is really other people's premiums, which is other people's money, to go buy the things in your life. And then if you go use that money to invest in a rental property, now you're getting cash flow back that you now put back in the policy, which gives you more cash in the policy, which allows you to leverage more money so you can buy more rental properties, and the snowball continues to compound. And a lot of people, even I was on a call with a guy yesterday with a husband and wife, and he was like, well, I'm 58 years old, does it matter? That's a good little clip. Right? Like he said, I'm 58 years old, does that matter? I said, it doesn't matter for infinite banking purposes. Your $1 will buy less life insurance than me at 29 years old, but your $1 of cash value is still the same as $1 of cash value for me. Mm-hmm. It's just about that your dollar of premium will buy of base premium will buy less death benefit. Yeah.
That's great. And so, like, can anyone do this, or is it just for people with a lot of money?
You know, everybody should do it. I mean, you already go to the bank, don't you? And infinite banking, or Becoming Your Own Banker in the book, Nelson Ash uses a 29-year-old all-American male, which is his way of saying your average Joe. Mm-hmm. And he uses your average Joe to explain that the average Joe finances more than the wealthy person. And if infinite banking is all about how you finance the things of your life, then the average Joe actually needs it more than a wealthy person. It's just easier for a wealthy person to take advantage of it sooner. And so for a salesperson, it helps to have somebody that has a couple $1 million in the bank than somebody that has a couple $100 in the bank. But you're still required to buy a car. You're more likely to buy a single family home. You're more likely to have debt. You're more likely to have student loans. And then therefore, you need to finance the things of your life. And infinite banking is all about recapturing the interest for all of those things.
Mm-hmm. So true. And so what do you tell somebody that has cash sitting in their bank and wants to do something with it, but they don't know what?
Cash is trash. You don't need cash in the bank. You need to get all the cash out of your bank and go make it work for you. You need to earn money, go store it somewhere that's guaranteed, that's going to outpace inflation, and then leverage against it and go multiply it.
Yes.
I mean, you have a real estate background. Why do so many people pay cash and buy single family homes? Like, why do they do that?
They think that they're going to save money on other fees, which is true. They do, but then what? They're losing the opportunity cost because once they use the cash is gone.
And remember when we first started dating, and you were like, wait, let's we just got engaged, and you're like, let's buy a home, and I was like, I don't want to buy a freaking home, I don't believe in it, and you had me get on the real estate webinar for Grant Cardone, and it totally changed the way that I think about real estate, right? So like, what's that mindset on real estate versus like your typical realtor that's selling a home?
Well, I know it's something for us to invest in real estate.
Yeah.
Not to really live in, to buy, but to invest.
But you still wanted me to invest in a single family home,
Yes.
not a 400 unit building.
Yes. Well, the thing with the family residential is all I knew. But then we got into Grant's world and we see you're going to do this. The only difference is just bigger amount of units. But they're going to do the same, maybe a little bit more work, but you might as well go big from when you start.
Yeah.
And that's one thing he said, the biggest mistake he made back then is not going through the big deals at the beginning. And that's what we've learned.
Staying too small, too long.
Too long, yeah. Exactly. All right. And so what are we going to continue doing now that we've started this process of us building our own family banking system?
One thing that we're in the process of is creating a dynasty trust, which is going to be handing down all of our assets over time so that we can create intergenerational wealth, which is children's children, and lay out the ground rules for how the Waxmans operate their money. And we're going to keep putting all of our cash into our policies so that we can leverage every dollar that we earn. And as we make more and more money, then we're going to need to store more and more money, and then we're going to be able to leverage more and more money, and we're going to recapture more and more interest that we would have paid to other people. And like, we're going to loan money to ourselves so that we can pay interest to our policy so that we can have a bigger policy, which creates more cash. And then who knows? I mean, maybe some hard money lending in the future, or real estate syndication or something like that. Or just continue growing the business because the dollar of profitability in our business is very high.
Yes, I agree with that. And so what are some of the biggest, I would say, negative beliefs people have about not wanting to do this as their own bank or start their banking system?
The biggest objections that people have,
or to stop people from moving forward with
that
this.
you have to have a lot of money to do it. That's not accurate. That you're too old, or it's too, you're too old or too unhealthy to do it. That it takes too long. That life insurance is expensive. That you don't need to pass on money to your family. Like, I don't want to talk. The people that say I don't care about leaving a legacy, just don't reach out to me, because I think that's ridiculous. Like, those are some of the top things.
Okay. And let's change it a little bit now. So what could families change in their financial future if every dollar stayed in the family instead of it going to a bank?
They could do what the Rockefellers do. They could own every aspect of their life. They could have a family bank and trust. Yeah.
Sure.
What would the Rockefellers do? This is the first book that I really read. It actually says, Change Your Family's Financial Destiny on the back. Legacy, Sustainable Wealth, Cash Flow, Impact, Freedom, and Cash Flow Banking. I mean, that book changed. These two books is why I do what I do right now. But people can change the whole outlook. But you gotta pass on the values. That's where like the Vanderbilts got messed up, was that they did the same thing the Rockefellers did until one of their grandkids or great grandkids or whoever it was ended up squandering all their family wealth. Cool. What does it mean for you, family wise?
For us,
For you, like, what does it mean for you personally, being the person, the family wants to pass on wealth and do all those things.
Well, it means a lot. It means that our name will and our legacy will keep on living to our future generations. We'll get to teach them something that not a lot of people know about and won't get taught in schools because they don't teach you these type of things in school. They don't even want you to learn these things because then you learn about tax-free strategies and then there goes that.
Yeah.
So it's just us being able to make an impact and also leave a big legacy behind.
Yes.
And teaching our family something that has been around for centuries that the wealthy family have been using. And that's what it means. It's being able to do something different for our family and changing that path of where our families originally were going.
Yeah.
Now we get to be a little bit of a change.
Cool. And so if people are now aware of infinite banking, they're somewhat interested in the process, maybe they have some intent to learn more or have a conversation, what do they do?
So if somebody's interested, I would definitely say subscribe to our YouTube, our podcast to keep learning because you want to keep educating yourself about infinite banking. And number 2 is give us a call or send us a direct message on Instagram and what other social media platforms we have.
All of them.
Yeah, our website, we have a phone number, a calendar link, TikTok, Facebook, all the social media platforms you can find myself or Josh and reach out to us. Be like, yeah, I want to learn more. Can we set up a free call just to review what we have and then we'll go from there. Right?
Yep. Cool.
And if let's see my last question. What would happen if more families knew about the strategy? Could we change the entire banking system?
This is my favorite question, and it's for this last one. Yes, if everybody did infinite banking, we would no longer need to finance anything. We would be self-financing them from a self-propagating system, and we would not need a Federal Reserve anymore at all either. So everybody would be completely self-sustaining. You'd be able to finance everything on your own, and you would pass on multiple millions of dollars to your future generations, and everybody would be trust fund babies.
Yeah, that'd be great. That'd be a great future.
Yes.
All right. Well, thank you for watching the Wise Spin Show. And if you're listening on the podcast Apple, click the link below to watch the full video on YouTube and send us a follow on Instagram. Thank you.
Thank you.